and soul. So satisfaction.
There is something transcendent about music. And when we start talking about the transcendent and stuff like that, it can get really, those conversations can get very convoluted and you know, somewhat hostile. But
Yeah.
but I think that there's something about music that, you know, maybe metaphorically it is a fundamental religion itself in some ways. I've heard musicians say that, like, well, you know, music is my religion.
A lot of people say that.
Yeah, and it makes sense to me, actually. It makes sense because I think that I was really into Joseph Campbell, like,
Yeah, absolutely, me too. Man.
yeah, and so I went to college for world religions and philosophy and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and so like I was eating Joseph Campbell for like breakfast, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
And his definition of religion is that religion has one purpose. It's supposed to put you in accordance with your environment. And if it doesn't do that, then either you're doing the religion wrong, or you need to go find a new religion.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and that can be kind of a, you know, a weird place for people, but that's kind of what I feel music does for musicians, and that's why it does feel like a religion, because it puts us in accordance with our environment. And if it does that, then it's fucking working, you know. And maybe we don't need these other things to come in to kind of convolute. It's like, well, we kind of found a fundamental truth system in music. And so that's a concept that I'm trying to maybe explore a little bit in this podcast as well. Is just the I think the divine is in music.
Well, you know,
It's not in all music, but it is there.
one thing I look at, think about in music. Music is a way to access deeper parts of ourself that aren't easily accessible, you know, with our conscious minds.
Different parts of our brain that are probably maybe being opened, that because we use such a small percentage of our brain, that maybe music is unlocking some of those other potential.
You know,
right.
It's a readout of your internal state too, man. Like if I'm playing, if I'm anxious or something, I'll go. My shoulders will come up, and I'm rushing. You know, I didn't even realize how uptight it is. Music is psychedelic in the truest sense of the word. The sense being mind manifesting, because it takes what is in here, and brings it out to where everybody can see. You know, and that's the same. It's the same as therapy. Does the same thing. You know, and religion's supposed to, but it doesn't always do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's unfortunate, because there's a lot of religions that I like, actually. You know, I'm not a polytheist. I'm not, but I, you know, I've delved into Buddhism and Taoism and Christianity and Judaism and even some Hinduism, Native American tradition. I mean, all that stuff. And the reason why is because I think that there's common denominators in all of those. I really
there
do.
absolutely is, yeah.
And I know that, well, how can you find a common denominator in a monotheism and a polytheism? It's like, well, look hard enough. I don't know. I also have a creative mind, so I can also, you know, I think I probably I run the risk of the pathological side of that, is where I can see patterns that aren't there also.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, I just learned that for every positive personality trait that you have, there's actually an adverse pathological side to that. Yeah, there's the shadow side to that. And one of my shadow sides, because I'm enthusiastic.
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert, so I'm enthusiastic and I've got some assertiveness, but the opposite, or the shadow side to the enthusiasm, is I can look manic, you know, and mania and manic is not good, you know. So I think that, you know, music, and we're going to go more into this too, like into the dark side of the music business, even on the micro side. There is absolute, like, malicious malevolence on the macro side of this business.
That's for sure.
But there are things that happen on the micro side that we deal with just as much. I mean, really, it's like when you're dealing with people in general, trying to be a band leader, you're dealing with the dark triad of things: Machiavellianism, narcissism, psychopathy, and now they got a new one, sadism, right? So, and it's like you're dealing with all of that, really, people are Machiavellian with, we manipulate each other. Like, if you're a band leader, well, I need to get players. Like, it's like, how do you balance that? And how do you not become a narcissist, or feed that narcissist side? Because all entertainers and musicians, if you're in that field where you're in the spotlight, we can tilt towards narcissism. And so keeping all that stuff in check is like, well, how do you do that? And that's super important to be a good band leader, right? I mean, it's like you can't be a narcissist to your band members.
Yeah,
you can't
though I've been in a lot of bands led by narcissists.
Well, we've shared that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for so long, and I've dealt with so many people that I've kind of come out the other side of that, and so I know how to deal with that stuff. And one way is to just walk away.
Right.
The other, also, I know how to. I think it's part of the bass player personality. I know how to make things run smoothly. Let people be themselves.
Yeah.
But the same token, bring them together. People say bass players are like the middle child of the band.
Well, you're the glue, right?
Yeah. Should be.
Yeah.
But I like I said, I've been doing this a long, long time, and I've seen so many different types of personalities. After a while, you learn how to deal with the different people. The guy who was my mentor said, "There's only so many kinds of people, and if you stick around long enough, you will see the same people coming back in different bodies."
That's right. And I agree.
Along with a whole bunch of other things he told me, that I found that to be very, very true.
Yeah, I definitely see that side of it for sure. Because, but I find that it's really ironic when you come across somebody who is not extrovert, but they want to put themselves in a extrovert position, like playing in a band.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you sure you really want to do this? Because I don't think you have the right temperament for society.
Yeah. Temperament is really important, and no matter how talented you are musically, if you don't have the right temperament and you don't have the right outlook, it's going to eat you alive. And like we said before, the tangible rewards aren't enough to keep you going. You have to be. It comes out to me is it's got to be about the love of the art, and it's got on a deeper level. I mean, it's. I think that's what it's all about, and that's where we come together.
Yeah, that actually is that's a really cool point, because that reminds me of what Nietzsche said. Nietzsche, his idea was that, okay, we have unnecessary suffering that happens in life, and then we have necessary suffering.
Yeah, it's unavoidable.
Okay, so he was like, yeah, unnecessary suffering, yeah, we don't need that. But there's something about necessary suffering in life that is it's imperative that we embrace that, because that's actually where good art comes from. Right, it's actually through, and I think that Kierkegaard was on this too. It's the idea that people value doing hard things, and when things like technology make things so convenient for people, that basically it'll make people strive to want to go do hard, difficult things, because there's something that really. Again, like that's kind of where we find this intrinsic value of what's going on. Like we like to do things that are difficult. That's where the fulfillment, I think, is. And Nietzsche's idea was that good art will come from necessary suffering. But the problem with that is that art can be commodified, and because art can be commodified, people will start watering the art down, and it will maybe to make it more palatable or whatever, but basically the art will start getting robbed, because it is a commodity. So the idea is that if you're creating your art as a commodity, you've already screwed up.
You still have to deal with the reality, though, by that I mean like the business size. It's a necessary evil.
Yes.
Because
Marketing.
if you couldn't go out and get good gigs, you wouldn't have me sitting here.
Right.
You know,
That's right.
Because it's I have to think about that. But again, that's not the primary thing. That's just like one of the details that I have to deal with so I can keep doing this.
So where I'm talking about the value is it's the intrinsic value.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really like what's shining. That's kind of, that's where the real motivation is. But you're right, because brings me to a point that I was eventually going to get to, which was musicians are really bad about knowing how to market and sell themselves,
Yeah.
and they have a hard time taking the intrinsic value that they know is there, but externalizing it so that other people can see the value, and you don't sell anybody on anything. Like, they have to be able to listen to you completely unbiasedly and hear that value without you, hey, let me explain what this song is, right? If you have to explain what the song is, it's probably not a good song.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that. I think the Beer Dogs, we had a pretty good handle on that because we did mostly our own songs, and we definitely played our own way. But at the same token, we sold the crap out of it, man. We were making like a $2,000 a month each in the '80s, man, just from playing, man.
And were you guys had merchandise and all that stuff?
Yeah. We had merchandise. We had CDs and cassettes, and then we had this deal with Tower Records where we were getting shirts like for $2, and we're selling them for 10. We sold hundreds of shirts, and if you're watching like a biker flick from Australia, you'll see some guy in a Beer Dog shirt. I mean, we were pretty.
That's great.
We were, you could say we were legendary, man. And yeah, we did. I mean, and merch has become all that much more important.
Yes.
Nowadays, it's a lot of times it's the only income that bands have.
Which one? That boils me back down to where I was going with all of this, is that bands need to really understand, and I know they do. Like, musicians are pretty up on the business end of things more so today, I think, than like even 10 years ago. I mean, I've really been into the business side of things to the point where I annoy my other band members.
Yeah.
I mean, it's annoying because I kind of have that obsessive mind too, where it's like I can't let go of something. It's like I have to master this, and the marketing and the sales side and building value and building value in your music to where you don't have to go around try to convince people, look how good I am. It's like, no, you did all the work on the microcosmic level. You wrote some songs, but you wrote 100 bad songs, and that's why you're sitting on these 10 good ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to do all of that hard work on the micro level. And then eventually you put something out, and for me, it took me 25 years to finally make the album that I've been trying to make. You know?
Yeah.
And I just accomplished that this year, and so I feel extremely fulfilled in that, and that's awesome. And where was I going with that? Just the idea that you have to be the one to scrutinize yourself, and it's really hard as an independent musician. Like, you have to be able to, you have to test market things. You have to go out there and, hey, I think this song is going to be really great. Well, you got to go out there and play it in front of a few audiences, and if you're seeing a really great reaction from it, then it's like, okay, we should probably record that.
Yeah.
And so putting yourself through, like, the building the value for your music as an independent, it everything relies on you, because you have to be, your own marketing team. You have to be your own worst critic in a way, and like, hey, let's make sure we don't release like any bads. Like, we got to really try to find what is the stuff that's resonating with people the most, and it's such a freaking hard, long process to do that. But the ultimate goal is that the reason why that pursuit is important is because I believe the most important thing to this crazy music industry is trying to retain as much ownership of your art and music as possible.
We got soul, so satisfied. satisfaction.